welcome to another Pptv episode. It's me, Beth, your social media extraordinaire here at Progressive, and my guest today is Jackie Tomes.
Hello.
I'm sure lots of you know Jackie. She's been in the community a lot. I see your photos, your videos, everything, and you're at Progressive a lot too.
Yeah.
So for anyone watching who might not really know you or your business or your journey, can you give us a little bit about yourself?
So, I'm Jackie. I'm based now in Margate in Kent. We started out buying single lets on the outskirts of London a few years ago, and we've now stepped up to buying blocks of flats in that area in Thanet. And when we're not doing that, we do that with investors. And we're not doing that, I'm known for my strategy skills, particularly in property, and I help people who are really good at what they do in property and have the technical skills but haven't got the business strategy behind it. So that's me in a nutshell. And I've got a lovely husband called Dave who he does all my Excel spreadsheets for me.
Just a shout out for
Dave. Hi Dave.
But that's great. So if we could kind of just take it all the way back to the start then, because a lot of people watching are newbies, they're just getting involved in property.
Yeah.
How did that happen for you?
So, fun enough, we were just talking about skiing a minute ago, it happened on a ski holiday.
Really?
Yes. So, I used to work in market research, and I had one of those magical weeks away of annual leave that are so precious when you're employed. And I had this magical week of annual leave and went away skiing with my now husband, Dave. And it was just the most amazing week. Like, those of you who ski, who may be watching this, we had like bluebird days where the sun shone, but the snow was amazing.
Making me jealous.
I'm sorry, it was freaking awesome. But the problem was it got to the end of the week, it was like the Saturday, and we had to go home on the Sunday, I think it was. And I just started to get that horrible sick feeling right in the pit of my stomach, because I knew that I had to go back to work on Monday, and just that feeling is just so horrendous, and I just was desperate to not have to go home. I wanted just to stay and ski more and go travelling more, but I had to go back to work. And that's when I realised that I didn't have enough control over my own life. I'm a bit of a control freak. Didn't have enough control, and so that's when I decided there's got to be another way to build up some other income. Maybe if I'm really careful with my money, I could save up, get a few buy-to-lets, and if I was lucky, maybe work part-time by the time I was like in my mid-30s or something. So I was like 24 at the time. And that was the decision to get going. I didn't know Progressive then, I didn't even know they existed. And I started doing it the good old-fashioned hard way, like saving up really, really hard to get into property. I got obsessive about saving. Maybe you've heard of Jamie Oliver's written a cookbook called Money Saving Meals. It's quite a few years ago now. It's all about how you can cook cheaper food.
Yes.
And you may or may not know this, but if you buy all the component parts of a chicken separately, it's far more expensive than if you just buy a whole chicken and can joint it all yourself. Very random fact. Sorry, any vegans listening in. But I learned...
That's an interesting fact.
It's a very random fact. And so I learned how to joint my own chickens, because that meant I could save the money that I'd otherwise spend on chicken to invest in put my deposit down for a property. So did that, cut down all but essential expenses, stopped seeing my friends, started saving the booze money for the deposit, and it took 18 months of blood, sweat and savings, of rejections, of getting laughed at in the face by mortgage brokers who were like, you're 25 and you think that you can just go and buy a buy-to-let property. And eventually managed to get the first property. 18 months later. It felt like years, and it was so hard, but it was, I was really proud of it. And that was what got me going all by myself.
I think a lot of people can relate, especially when people are first starting out in property. They think that is the only way I'm ever going to be able to get a property. I need to save, I need to restrict myself, and I'll get there eventually. So how long did it take from that first property then to get to your second one?
So we completed on that first property in July 2015, and that was a one-bed flat in the outskirts of southeast London. Really famous place called Erith, which I'm sure hardly anyone's heard of. And we refurbished it. I got way too involved, and got it all tenanted in the September.
Okay.
And it was so funny. I remember turning to Dave, my husband, and he was very supportive in the property business, but he wasn't the driving force. And I can remember driving away from that first buy-to-let property, like we just shut the door, the tenant moved in, and I turned to Dave and I went, I reckon we could do more than one of these a year. And he basically like pulled over in anger. He was like, what the hell? This has been so hard. We've worked so hard for the last like 2 months toiling on this property. Not a chance. Anyway, then I don't know how Rob Moore got my email, but he did. Thank you, Rob, for finding me. Yeah, he found me. And I ended up on a webinar with Rob. I ended up getting tickets to go to the Multiple Streams event. And I went along to that in October 2015.
Okay.
And oh my God, it just blew my mind. If you have been to Multiple Streams, you'll know what I mean. It's just like, oh my God, how have I been living my life? And this stuff is happening and I've got no idea. So for me, the biggest thing that changed my life at that event was believing I had a value to bring to people who had money, but no time or inclination or knowledge to invest in property, and that we could work together to do property investments. Like, oh my God, apparently you don't have to joint chickens in order to have the money for a buy-to-let property.
You don't have to save for 18 months. No.
Apparently not. Oh my God, I wish I had, like, it was really funny that the first 18 months in property, like I heard about training courses, but I was really a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I should have been a bit more humble because I thought I knew better. Like I thought I could do it better myself. But suddenly I realised that if I had actually invested in myself, if I'd gone on training courses, I could have been so much further ahead than I was. So that's actually quite painful.
A lot of people, when they hear about education courses, we're told to be sceptical. We're told if it sounds too good to be true,
it probably is. Yeah.
Like we're taught that right from the start. So to come to somewhere like Progressive or another education company, it can be, well, no, this is some kind of scam. What's the catch? Yeah, exactly. So I think you're not alone there, and I think a lot of people watching will also relate to that.
And so that changed my life. Multiple Streams. Did actually buy some courses when I was there, and off the back of that and then masterclass, we just went mental. We went absolutely mental. We bought another 8 properties in the next 6 months whilst working full time.
That was going to be my next question. Were you still working full time? Like, did you drop down to part time? But no, you were both full time and went and got 8 more in 6 months.
Yeah, we were just chilling basically.
I love that. Like, no hanging around. It's like, I've heard this, now let's do it.
Yeah, that's basically me. Like, if I believe in something, I just commit to it and just get on with it. It's probably one of my biggest assets, I reckon.
Yeah.
And it was like the most exciting time of life. I just felt like the world was my oyster, like I could achieve anything I wanted to achieve, and I was just all in. I was like learning how to leverage, like hired a VA for a few hours a week, started to pass over some tasks to them, started learning how to analyse deals better and like systemize things, and I was literally working 80 hours a week. I'd already been working a lot of hours leading up to it, and it just exploded in the most exciting, exhausting and all-consuming way. And so I was working full-time. I did drop down part-time. You know what? It's all such a blur, that period. At some point during that, I did go down to 4 days a week, I think it was. My husband, Dave, was a musician. So he was being a musician during all of that as well. And I didn't sleep very much.
It sounds intense.
It was really intense.
Exciting.
It was exciting. And I always wanted to have my own business. I don't know if any of you listening in can relate to that. I always wanted to have my own thing that I could take control of and run with, but I'd never had any ideas. Like, it's a bit cliche, but you watch like Dragon's Den and The Apprentice, and all these people have these like crazy harebrained ideas, and you kind of think that you need to have that too. But what I didn't realise was that you could just find an existing industry, do what someone else is doing, and maybe just do it very slightly differently, and that you could run with it, and that property could actually be that thing.
And using other people's money.
Yeah. So it was completely game-changing. And so that was amazing up until the point that we just literally, you can't keep going like that for too long. I already had been working really hard up until that point, juggling property and work, to then it kind of just exploded. I eventually ended up just like crumbling into a heap. Probably another 6 months after that, 6 to 9 months, and it just, it was, I didn't realise how much I was taking on. And because when I started, I was only doing single let properties. Suddenly it was like, ooh, HMOs, ooh, commercial conversions, ooh, developments, ooh, title splits, ooh, sourcing, ooh, rent to rent. Ooh, I was like a kid in a sweet shop. Oh, public speaking, let's do that as well. That's like a really good idea. So I just did like everything because I just didn't realise the cost of trying to take every opportunity, and that's what I think I started to realise during that epic.
And you don't ever want to let something pass you by, do you? So it's like, if public speaking came up, no, this is the time now, it's here, I'll do it.
Yeah, I don't want to miss out on it. And I think that was, in order to get from the stage that we were at in terms of buying a lot of properties, to then turning that into a proper business, we had to learn to not do so much.
Well, this was going to be my next question, because at the start you actually mentioned that you're a bit of a control freak. So
still am.
How did that work when you then started having to leverage and delegate? Like, how was that for you?
I guess my approach to leverage and delegation is quite controlled. So in a way it was fine because I just did it bit by bit. I didn't just go, oh, you deal with sourcing. I don't know. I just did little pieces. So to start with, I was started to outsource buying presents. I had lots of friends and family, birthdays and things, and I got a VA to help me research and find presents. And that was
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
Great.
Order birthday, send birthday cards, or help with booking travel. And then diary management. So I just did little pieces.
Yeah.
So then even though I'm a complete control freak, it was still possible to start to leverage things, and then you start to build up the trust that actually it's fine, or it's not fine, and you just tweak the thing that's not working. So yeah, it was actually okay. And I'm good at writing systems and processes. It's one of my skills, and being able to systemize piece by piece has made a business that I'm proud of.
That's brilliant. And I think that leads us nicely on to your business. It is a lot about strategy and systemizing and working on the actual business instead of the goal almost.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that a lot of us in business and in property, we don't necessarily know what we really want when we start. So it could be that, I was like, oh, I want to go on holiday more. And it was actually when we started working with a business coach, one of the things that he asked me was, what is going on lots of holidays? Because lots of holidays to you could mean something completely different to what it means to me. And someone you listening in, you might be like, I hate holidays. So it's what does it really mean?
Yeah.
And I think that level of specificity is important to actually building the right business for you, and not just being like, oh, I want loads of money, I want loads of freedom, and I want loads of time. Yeah, everyone wants that. What version of that do you want? And I'm really grateful that I didn't even know that business coaches really existed, and I was really grateful to have come across someone who could help us in that way, because otherwise I was chasing something.
Just a vague idea, wasn't it?
Well summarised, a vague idea.
I think one of the ways that I know a lot of people deal with it, especially when they do have a lot of vagueness, is the 5 whys.
Okay,
to try and pin down exactly what it is, which is very similar to what you were saying just there about, well, what is lots of holidays? Yeah. Really pinning down to the actual specifics of what you are trying to achieve.
Yes. Yeah, that's a nice idea. That's a nice way to think about it. So for me, whenever I'm what I do it for myself, I do it with clients as well in property. Before you can make any decisions about anything, what's your vision? What are you trying to achieve? And for me, I found that a really rounded and motivating vision consists of a factor containing what your business will look like, what your brand is going to be, where you're going to be spending your time, what your environment is, what's your house like, what's your office like, how are you spending your time, how are you splitting it between your business and other stuff in your life, family, holidays, mowing the lawn, I don't know, whatever you like to do, anything. And the lifestyle that you're wanting to lead around it. And doing all that thinking first of all, before then going, how much money do I need to make that all happen? Because I hear a lot of people just pick random figures out of the air to go, I need 100 grand a month. But it's okay, why do you need 100 grand a month?
They have no idea.
No idea.
It sounded good.
Yeah, felt like a nice round figure.
Yeah.
So I think being really clear and specific, like you said, is really important to then being able to go, okay, if that's what I want, what is the best way for me to get there? And if we're using property as the specific example here, what are all the options that I have within me? Like, so I call things like buy-to-let, HMO, service accommodation, I call those things business models. Yeah. I don't call them strategies, because I think we need to choose which one of those business models serves where we want to go, but the strategy is what fits around it. I think that's missing in property, that kind of more business approach to it, which means that you can actually scale and systemize it to achieve your vision.
I think that's a really nice way of summarising that up, and I think people do get caught in different property strategies. They think of those as the strategy, and if I just do that, it's all going to work, when actually, no, like you said, it's not a strategy, that's the business model, and now you need to pin down how that's going to work for you. And I think a lot of people watching are probably like, well, that makes sense. Why haven't I actually thought about that? So they're just going through the motions, but not actually making it work for them. Yeah,
and for me, what really helps is, so I use a tool called Strategy on a Page as like a really good framework for building up a strategy. And for me, going back to what I was like when we were in that crazy phase of buying loads of property, and I realised that I was trying to run like 6 or 7 business models. Wow. Then you need 6 or 7 strategies, and the amount of time it takes to build up a good strategy, wow, that really keeps me focused and on track now, because rather than just thinking, oh, I need to set up, and I need another income stream, or I'll start doing something else new, I go, oh my God, what's the cost of my time? What are all the different things I need to think about? And I found that really helps me, who's someone who is a creative person, I want to do loads of new things, to actually really focus. So I run the strategy training business, which is a passion thing. I really love it.
You can tell how excited you are about strategies as well.
Then we buy blocks of flats. That's all we buy. We buy blocks of flats, we refurb them, and then we rent them out as single-let properties. And that just really helps me to say no to anything outside of that. Oh, what's the comment? Ah, cool. Hey, so we've got amazing lady. Thank you. That's lovely. You can come again. Coming to my training in London in April. Oh yeah, cool. So I also, part of my training business is I run what I call the Property Strategy Workshop. And as you see, I'm quite excited about this, and there's so much to cover. So I've got I do a one-day event where if you can relate to what I'm saying, I've got a day that you can come and just immerse yourself in all things strategy and how you can combine the right business model for you with a great business strategy, which is fun. At the Reform Club, I like to try and do
I've seen fancy the pictures as well. It's very fancy.
I can't even remember that. It's the weirdest thing.
I love it. But that's kind of, all of that has come about from you strategizing, systemizing. That's how your event's always there as well. Like, you don't just ring up and hope that they have space for you.
No, that's true.
So it's something that you can take into all aspects of your life and your business, I feel like, what you teach.
Yes. Yeah. And whilst our example is we go on holiday every 6 weeks. That's why we got into property.
They really do.
And you know what's so good? Like, it's a big part of my training business is we go on holiday every 6 weeks. Now, like, physically, I have to do it because I have to, like, practice what I preach.
You
so
do.
Now
so
there's no choice. I really have to do it.
If you guys have been keeping up with Jackie recently on social media, I've been so jealous from all the photos of you skiing, and I was like, is she ever coming back? Because it feels like you have been gone forever.
I mean, I feel really grateful to be in the position that I'm in, and it's from the girl who went away skiing 6 years ago and was just wishing to not go home, to go on more adventures, to ski more. We went skiing for 5 weeks.
Amazing. It's so amazing.
I can't believe that that's my life. I just feel so grateful that it's been possible to make that happen. It was my 30th birthday. We hired a chalet. My best friends came out, and this stuff is possible if you know that it's what you want and you go after it in the right way.
I feel a lot of people as well relating to where you started on that first skiing trip. They didn't see that as, like, other people do that, but that will never be me. Like, if I'll work hard and I'll just get there eventually. And I think it's quite nice that you are proof that, no, actually, if you want it, if you put the systems in place, get your strategies in line with that, you can make that happen. You could be going skiing for 5 weeks next.
Yeah.
I just think that's amazing.
Thank you.
What would some of, like, your top strategy tips, if you could give top 3 to the people watching right now?
Ooh, top 3 tips. Yeah, so my first one would be to get really specific about what you want, and write down to some very specific examples. Like, take yourself forward, like 10 years, forget the how you're going to make it happen and just start by thinking, what do I really want to achieve? And yeah, I've got a Vision Quick Start guide that you can use if you want a bit of a framework for that, which I'm happy to share a link to. So you can go through the Vision Quick Start guide, get really specific about what you're trying to achieve first and foremost, and then it's about looking at what are you working on at the moment, how many things are you doing. It's not unusual for me to sit in front of someone who is trying to do at least 5 different business models. And Rob's got his 70-20-10. I think if you're going to have a few, that's a great framework, but you've got to be really strict with 70 means 70. 70 doesn't mean 30, 30, like it doesn't mean 30, 30, 30, it's 70, 20, 10.
It's easy to slip into, I'll just do a bit more here, I'll just do a bit more there.
Yes. So then I would say for me, it's 70-20-10 is about focusing predominantly on one thing. So choose what your one thing is. And then start to look at the different areas of strategy. So particularly if you're just at the beginning, looking at the marketing and sales area in your business specifically. So what is your ideal deal criteria, which is a big place I start.
Yeah.
What's your ideal deal look like? Okay, and are you communicating that to the outside world? Because if you don't know what you're looking for in terms of the right deal, how will anyone else know? And that can really help to guide you the marketing that you do with estate agents. If you are online or using deal sources, to have that real strong criteria of this is what I'm specifically doing. I find that's a really good place to narrow down the scope.
I think that's brilliant. And then you become more well known for those types of deals as well.
Yep.
So people know that you are someone who knows exactly what you're looking for as well, and you'll be. By being more structured, you're actually more of a pleasure to work with as well. Yeah. So
it's amazing. Like we go into estate agents and we talk about this is exactly what I'm looking for. And I have heard estate agents, one of the things that they get really frustrated with is people like us going in and saying, I'm looking for deals. And the estate agent's like, okay, what kind of deals? And they're like, any deals. Anything that's a good deal, I'll buy it. Problem is, like, loads of people are walking in saying that. How do you stand out from those people?
And again, what's a good deal? You're not specific. Like, that can mean anything to anyone.
A good deal where? And I really like Progressive's approach to dominating in an area because that also really helps you to put in the right systems and the right team to support you and your vision. And therefore you can narrow down the scope. And it's brilliant. I'm really grateful. People often send me messages on Facebook and say, I've got a great deal. I know you do blocks of flats. I've got a great block of flats. And I'm like, okay, cool. Where is it? And unless it's in Thanet, it's not something that we would consider. And there's also other criteria for us in a block of flats, like are the utilities split? What kind of, is it tenanted?
There's so much more detail to it than just I've got a block of flats.
Exactly. So I'd say particularly if you're actually anyone, if you're doing way too many things, narrowing down to what your main focus is, what business model, getting clear on what your deal criteria is within that is a really good place to start. If you are bigger, if you're a more experienced investor, then typically there's higher priorities in terms of the systems around how you're like delivering on what you're promising to do, and making sure that you've got the financial management systems in place to support your business activities, because we didn't have that. Like, we bought 8 properties in 6 months. We had nothing, and like we didn't know, we had no systems for tracking how profitable a deal was, to keep on top of all your expenses and your receipts. We had no way of having management accounts, and it was on the way to a storm. It really was.
What do you think, that kind of pressure then that you had, that steep learning curve right there, do you think that kind of forced you, no, we need to get organised, we need these systems, we need these strategies in place?
Yeah. And
kind of push came to shove there.
Definitely. And I'm really grateful to Progressive because they gave me the technical knowledge of how to go out and do property. Like, there was so much I didn't know about the logistics of how else you could source deals and how you could work with investors. Like, there was so much there, and that was amazing because that just completely accelerated where we went. But then I was grateful to have realised that I didn't have the business structure in place to scale any further. If it had been a bad timing in the market, I could have been in quite a bit of trouble, but luckily we didn't get to that point. So then it was great to realise there's a whole nother level that I needed to learn to be able to scale further.
That's brilliant. And guys, if you do have more questions as well about systems and strategies that Jackie is talking about, feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll answer them as we can as we go through. But what I would like to go back to just then is you were saying, like, if you have lots of different strategies on the go or models, how would you kind of suggest pinpointing down? Do you go for the one that you're more passionate about, or do you go for the one that gives you the goals quicker?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And when I'm working with clients, it's a little bit of an art rather than a science, because it depends on, there's so many different variables to making that decision. So for someone, going down the rent to rent route could be the right thing, and for someone else it could be a complete distraction. So it's really not just a one size fits all approach. It depends on the resources that you've got available, the strengths that you have, what you're passionate about, how property is fitting into your life, in your vision. Like, if property is something that you really love, then you're probably going to want to have it in your life in a big way in the future. So then that would influence what, you could go for some more involved business models, which would make sense. But whereas if you're really, for you just want to be able to, and I've heard this before, I've got clients who just want to be able to travel the world, check in like a couple of hours a month on property. That's all they're interested in. They're hands-free. They haven't got a passion for property. I don't have a passion for property. I've convinced myself I did at one point, but I don't really. It's an enabler to get to the freedom to be able to go on holiday a lot, every 6 weeks. I'm heading towards the 4 weeks now, but every 6 weeks. And to then have the freedom to do, explore other things in life, and to be able to give back and support other people, and have a family one day and not have to work a full-time job around it. So there's a lot of different factors at play, but I think a really good place to analyse yourself is to look at how much time do you have, what funds do you have to get started, and what are you trying to achieve both in the long term and in the shorter term too.
I think that's a good summary, really. I think that's really good, and I'm sure that's given people lots to think about as well. Also then, so you said at the start, after your first buy-to-let, Dave was a bit like, no more. We're done with that. What's his view on property now then, and your business and your strategies and systems and things?
Oh, good question. It was amazing, actually. So I went to the Multiple Streams event, and Dave came along for part of it. He couldn't come for the whole thing, but he came for part of it. And he suddenly saw the possibilities, and his mind was as equally blown as mine. And I can remember, actually, it was in London that we went to Multiple Streams, and there's a Pizza Express across the road from the Pullman, and we went to the Pizza Express on the Saturday night. And I can just remember it so vividly. Like, we were exhausted because they're like long days at Multiple Streams, and it was just the most exciting dinner of my life, because I was just like, oh my God, Dave, look at what we can do. And he got on board. So rather than just being a support, he was suddenly like, wow, imagine what life could be like if we could implement what we've learned here. So that was a real tipping point to him coming on board, and we both were then driving alongside each other to make it happen. So, and he was talking about the other day, he said there was you have different alarms on your phone. There's a particular alarm that we had during that phase of our minds being opened, and occasionally he uses the ringtone now, and he said it just he remember waking up in the morning and feeling excited for another day to do more property, to like make it happen. And he's so convincing when he's passionate about something, and he just threw himself into it. And I think that beginning phase is the most amazing part. And if you're in it at the moment, that getting started part, you'll probably be frustrated because you see people who are further ahead of you, and you wish that you were where they were. But actually, just enjoy where you're at, because that excitement hasn't lasted forever. For us, it hasn't, and I think that's because we don't genuinely have a passion for property. So as we've scaled up, you scale up, and there are more problems that you need to deal with, and either you enjoy solving those problems or you don't. We don't enjoy solving those problems. I enjoy systemizing and making the business work better, but for me, that rush has run out for us. So now Dave, we've both got this year, we're very much about consolidating what we've done, making sure it's all working efficiently, maximise profit by minimising expenses, all kind of really boring stuff like that. But yeah, he's gone through the phase of being totally in it and excited. We've grown through it. We've built something that I'm really proud of. I didn't think I'd be a 30-year-old with a 6 million portfolio. Like, that's mental. And
yes.
And yeah, Dave has been, we wouldn't have done it without each other. I was the driving force, and he's been the support, and then the more systems delivery person as we scaled up. And yeah, now we're on to the next phase, really.
That's incredible, and I love the little drop of the 6 million portfolio. Yeah. That's incredible, and that's such a huge achievement. And I think how you were describing it, it's almost like the honeymoon phase at the start, where everything's exciting, it's all new, how can we do more? Like, you're really passionate about it, and I think a lot of people, they need to take a step back and actually just enjoy that phase.
Yeah. And you'll wish it away, because the excitement phase is probably when you're not earning the most money, but you're probably pouring money and time into it with hardly any return. So yeah, enjoy that. Yeah, enjoy it, because it won't last forever. And well, if you've got a passion for it, it will. Yeah. But if you don't, it won't.
So going on to the next phase then, it's very exciting. I have seen a lot of the work that you've been putting out there. We briefly mentioned it a little bit about your workshop.
Yes.
Are you able to tell the people watching more about it, so they can get to know a bit more of what you're doing currently?
Yeah, cool.
And your current passion.
My current passion, yeah. So I saw by going through it myself that there was a huge need to get business strategy into property. I saw that no one was really serving that part of the market, so it's something that I've gone out to go and build a whole business around, which is a combination of training days like the property strategy workshop. I work one-to-one with clients. I run retreats around building up business strategy. So it's business strategy, business planning and coaching for property investors, for property professionals, whether you're just starting out or whether you've already got an existing portfolio that you want to go and scale up. So yeah, the way that most people come and work with us is, to start with, is with a property strategy workshop, which is held at the Reform Club in central London. It's on Pall Mall. If you've been there before, you'll know it's another world. So it's amazing. It's a really one of the oldest clubs in London, and it's a fantastic place to come and learn about strategy. And it's my way of getting it out there, getting strategy out there into the property world and making it as easy as possible for people to come and learn about it. So on the day, we go through all the different areas of strategy in property, how you bring it all together to make the right decisions for you moving forwards. So I'm going to share the link on the comments or however when we've finished. It's £279 plus VAT. You get lunch included in that as well, and it's just a really small event. I'm really proud of it. We always sell out now, which I'm really proud of, and we get amazing feedback from it. So yeah, if that's something that you know that you want to be focusing on, if you want to take it to the next level, I'll share a link, and I'd love to host you at the Reform.
That's brilliant. For those who might be watching it on the YouTube on the other cameras, is it best for them to contact you through a specific email or contact you just through Facebook?
So yeah, the best way to get in touch with me off the back of today is send us an email, info@tomeshomes.com. Yeah, Jackie Tomes. No, that surname will come in helpful one day. So info@tomeshomes.com. Drop us an email there. I'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant. And I would also like to point out, before we kind of wrap it up to the end, is that at the start you were talking about Dragon's Den and how you had to come up with a wacky idea or something that hadn't been done before.
Yep.
But that's what your business is now. That is what it is. There was a gap in the market. No one was actually teaching strategy in the market. So I think that's quite...
You made some excellent observations. You are completely right. And you know what? When I realised that, I was like, I've nailed it. This is such a great idea. It's so much harder.
Yeah.
Actually, what I found is everyone thinks they have a strategy if they've chosen service accommodation or HMO. I first of all got to educate that is not strategy before you even know that you need to work with me, and that essentially trying to carve out your own marketplace is so much harder than going to compete in existing marketplace with a different USP. So in a way, only go down this route if you've got a real drive and excitement for it, because it's been, I've been consistently doing this for 2016. I think we started doing this, and it's really building momentum now, and people are hearing more and more about what we do. And I've got other people who've been clients of mine or have come to the workshop, and they're out there talking about it too. And that makes it easier for people to understand more about what it is. So yeah, I'm really proud of it, but I know it's something that I'm going to have to keep chipping away at. I've probably got decades worth of time in property, and still there'll be plenty of people who didn't know what it was. So, which is good. I'm up for the challenge, and I love it. But yeah, that is what I've ended up doing.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. The whole full circle of it. I think it's amazing. I think what you're doing is amazing, and I think making your own way in it. I think you realise that property wasn't for you, and some people, they can't admit that to themselves. They're like, well, no, I've committed to it now, I need to carry on. Whereas actually, no, that's not always the case. If you're not passionate about it, find another passion. Yeah, and systemize what you've got so that you can keep going without your constant involvement, which is what we'll do. And yeah, it doesn't need to be all about your time. You can get people who do love doing it to help you do it. And then you can focus on other things too. So yeah, if you want to head on to the workshop, I'm going to actually give a discount code off the back of this too. We love a discount at Progressive.
Thank you, I know. And I wouldn't be here actually if Progressive hadn't given me great offers to go out and do things. So yeah, if off the back of today, if you want to come and join the workshop, I'm going to put a discount code, Pptv. I'd love to host you at the Reform.
Brilliant. We'll pop everything in the comments for you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for coming in today. I've actually really enjoyed this. I think it's been fascinating to learn more about your journey and what's next for you. Like, I see all the Facebook updates, I see the videos, I see the photos. So it's really nice to hear your story from you.
Thank you.
I hope everyone else has enjoyed watching. Any more questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'll tag Jackie in actually so that you can go back to people. 100%. We'll put all the links that we've mentioned below as well. But yeah, from us at Pptv, I think that's it for today.
Thank you.
That's it. So we'll see you next week then.
Bye.
Bye.